Have you ever been in a room and felt like a whole conversation was happening, but nobody was saying a word? Well, you were probably right. Some studies suggest that a huge chunk of our communication, like over 90%, is nonverbal. That means even when we're totally silent, our bodies are talking. So today, we're going to decode one of the most powerful parts of that silent conversation, what our arms and hands are really saying. So go on, take a quick second. How are you sitting right now or standing? Check your arms. Are they crossed? Are they open at your sides? Maybe you've got a hand on your chin? Whatever you're doing, I promise you it's not random. You're sending a signal, and we're about to figure out exactly what it is. And believe it or not, there's a whole science dedicated to this. It's called kinesics. It's basically the formal study of how we use our bodies to talk without talking. Think of it as the official grammar book for all our gestures, postures, and movements. All right, so let's get fluent in this silent language. We're going to learn how to read the signals other people are sending out, and just as important, how to be a little more intentional about the messages we're sending ourselves. And it all starts with the biggest, most obvious statements our arms can make. First up, the classic arm cross. You see it everywhere. It's one of the most common postures out there. But you know what? It's also one of the most misunderstood. Does it always mean someone's defensive, or is there something else going on? Let's break it down. So the textbook interpretation of crossed arms is that it's a barrier. Someone feels insecure, they disagree with you, or they're just plain closed off. But, and this is a big but, context is everything. They might just be cold, or maybe the chair doesn't have any armrests and it's just comfortable. The key takeaway here is to never, ever read a single gesture by itself. You always have to look for other signals to get the full story. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about how other people see you, it actually affects how you think. Research has found that when people literally cross their arms, they also tend to mentally close themselves off. They actually absorb less information and they're more critical of what they're hearing. So next time you're in a meeting or a class, uncrossing your arms might literally open your mind. And that standard arm cross, that's just level 1. There are layers to this. If you see that same cross, but with clenched fists, really balled up hands, that can signal some serious hostility. Now, if someone is gripping their own arms really tightly, you might even see their knuckles go white. That's a sign of high anxiety. It's a way of comforting themselves. And then you have the more subtle stuff like one arm just coming across to touch the other. That often signals a little bit of insecurity or a lack of self-confidence. All right, so let's zoom in from the big signals our arms are making to the much more detailed, nuanced language of our hands. Our hands are constantly working, They're adding emphasis to our words, they're punctuating our sentences, and sometimes they're revealing what we really think. This is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's so simple, but so powerful. When you talk with your palms facing up, you're sending a signal of openness, of honesty. It's an invitation. But flip that gesture over, palms facing down, and the meaning completely changes. Now you're conveying authority, control, certainty. It's a gesture that says, I'm in charge here, or pay attention to this. And you might be wondering, why is showing our palms so universally seen as trustworthy? Well, it goes way, way back. From an evolutionary standpoint, showing your empty palms was the quickest way to signal to a stranger, hey, I'm not a threat, I'm not holding a rock or a spear. That ancient primitive instinct is still hardwired right into our brains. You've definitely seen leaders and executives do this one. It's called steepling, where you just bring your fingertips together lightly. This is a massive confidence signal. It shows that a person is feeling self-assured, they're in control of their thoughts, and they're feeling pretty confident. Go on, try it yourself right now. You can almost feel how it changes your posture. It's pretty powerful. Okay, here is a major pro tip for your communication toolkit. Be really, really careful with the finger point. It is inherently aggressive, it just feels accusatory to whoever's on the receiving end, and in a lot of cultures, it's considered incredibly rude. A much better, more inclusive way to do it is to use an open-handed gesture, all your fingers together, to indicate a direction or a person. All right, let's talk about the handshake. It is so much more than just a simple greeting. It's a critical ritual just packed with nonverbal information. In just those first few seconds, a single handshake can set the entire tone for an interaction, either building instant trust or creating immediate tension. And this isn't just some vague feel-good idea. There's real brain chemistry at play here. A good, firm handshake, one that feels warm and respectful, can actually trigger the release of oxytocin in the brain. That's the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that helps parents bond with their newborns. So a great first impression is literally a chemical reaction.
Of course, not all handshakes are created equal. The message you send totally depends on the one you give. The ideal, right, is that firm, palm-to-palm connection that signals mutual respect. Then you've got the opposite, the limp, boneless handshake. We've all gotten one of those. It just suggests weakness or that the person isn't interested. And then there's the aggressive power handshake, where someone tries to get their palm on top of yours. That's a pure dominance play.
So far, we've mostly been looking at gestures in a pretty Western context. But the handshake is actually the perfect way to transition to our next topic. Because while it's a global greeting, how it's done and what other gestures mean can change dramatically as soon as you cross a border. The whole dictionary of nonverbal communication basically gets rewritten. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? Something that's totally friendly and normal where you live can be deeply, deeply offensive somewhere else. So if you're working or traveling internationally, knowing this stuff isn't just about being polite. It's absolutely critical for communicating effectively. And this table is a perfect illustration of just how tricky it can be. I mean, look at the thumbs up. In the US, it means great or I agree. But in parts of the Middle East, it's a seriously offensive insult. Or the A-OK sign, totally fine in America. In France, it can mean you think something is worthless. And in Brazil or Turkey, it's an obscene gesture. Even the V for victory sign, if you do it with your palm facing inward in the UK or Australia, you've just insulted someone. And it goes way beyond just a few hand signals. Think about something as simple as counting on your fingers. In the US, you'd probably start with your index finger for one. In Germany, you start with your thumb. And greetings themselves can range from that firm German handshake all the way to the respectful bow that's so central to Japanese culture. This silent language is truly a collection of global dialects. So we've decoded the arm barriers, we've looked at hand signals, we've broken down handshakes, and we've navigated some tricky cultural codes. You now have the grammar for a language that every single person speaks, but very few truly understand. So the only real question left is, with this newfound fluency, what will you choose to say?